Hi everyone, welcome. This is Lauren Fogelman. Thank you for joining us today. We are here to talk about how to develop a highly profitable niche for your accounting practice.
And hi, this is Steve Fogelman. I'm going to be working the chat, and I'm also going to be giving Lauren some questions. So if you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat, and I'll be glad to pass those on to Lauren.
And what we're going to go ahead and do is cover 5 client attraction steps that you can take to really start to develop your niche. How to succeed without competing, because competing isn't really fun for most of us. And there's ways to be able to rise to the top, get attention, really become recognized without having to be in that competitive mindset. And then the last thing we're going to focus on as we wrap up is hot tips that you can do to help develop your niche. So that's the 3 things that we have covered for today. And if you are an accounting professional who absolutely loves the work that you're doing, enjoys working with some of your clients, enjoys some specific things about your business, and you want to do more of those things that absolutely light up your day and work with those ideal clients, then you are absolutely in the right place. If you have been thinking about developing a niche, that specialty, that thing that you're known for, that starts to separate you from everybody else, just haven't been sure really how to get started or how that works, then absolutely we're going to go ahead and dive into that today as well.
So Lauren, I'd really like to hear about your background and how you became a pricing expert for accounting professionals. What led you to move in that direction?
Well, what I have found for me, as well as so many of the accounting professionals that I work with, is that we are trained to do that thing that we do really, really well. Great skill set at helping our clients, being able to do the things that we promise them, be able to follow through with deliverables. But what school doesn't do is it doesn't prepare you to be an entrepreneur, a business owner. It actually prepares you to be an employee working for somebody else. But if you have made the decision for whatever reason to really move in the direction of having your own agency and firm and wanting to be able to develop a business that really supports your lifestyle instead of one where it drains the life out of you or you have to compromise things, then you know what I will say is that was my story too, where when I went into business coaching, I'm really great at those things that help you develop your business, but the pricing piece as well as how to have enrolling conversations were never taught to me in school, and I needed to go ahead and figure out how to price my services and how to attract clients to me without being salesy. And I have spent time, energy, and money being able to crack the code. And that's part of what I'm sharing with you today, is how developing a niche is going to be one of the best things that you can do for your practice, even though it is highly counterintuitive.
Mm-hmm. So Lauren, as a pricing expert, I know that you're helping accounting professionals make more money. What's something that you can help them with in order to increase their income?
Well, as you can see right on this slide, it's all about the niche. And I absolutely agree with that. Accounting professionals are really, really busy people. You do so much for your clients in direct services as well as behind the scenes. You spend a lot of time working in your business. However, there's not that much time calendared, if any, to working on your business. Those strategic moves that are going to advance your business in a very specific direction, as opposed to letting the business direct you. And it goes in a specific, and maybe it goes in a growth direction, but it turns out to be something that wasn't really what you planned. And as a result of that, you might be experiencing burnout or working with people who you are not your ideal clients. So developing a niche is a longer term strategy where it's more about the marathon, because it takes time to develop it. It's not like you decide to do it overnight and then you have it, as opposed to the sprint where you're putting some effort in and then you're taking effort off. So it's a longer process. It's a strategy. However, once you develop that niche, it's highly, highly lucrative for your business for a variety of reasons. And part of what I do when I work closely with my clients on helping them figure out even what niche they want to go into is looking at who is it that you want to work with? Who's your ideal client? When you do that, you want to ask 2 sub-questions. The first one is about the demographics, which we have all heard about. That is, where do they live? Maybe education level, status, as far as whether they're in a relationship or not in a relationship. How much money are they earning right now? Made a profession also. So those are the obvious things that you want to think about, is the who, what, where, when, why. But the other part that you want to consider, which isn't known quite as well, is what's called the psychographics. The psychographics are the qualities or characteristics of the types of clients that you work best with. Because I know that there are some people who love working with those type A personalities who are go-getters, they're high achievers. They want to take their industry to a higher level than what it currently is at. Then there's other accounting professionals who love working with the people that are a little bit less risk adverse. They're a little bit more cautious. They like to have the plan all laid out. They have their business plan in place, and they want to minimize risk as much as possible and could use a little bit more hand-holding. So think about not just the demographics of where they live, what they do, how much money they make. Also consider the psychographics of personality and characteristics. The next thing you want to look at is, where do they go for information? Where do they go virtually for information, as far as learning from audio or video, which could be podcasts, it could be webinars like what we're doing here. It could be that their associations put on trainings, as well as looking at what forums are they going to, which websites do they go to where they have specific questions about their industry, and start to become aware of that. The next thing you want to look at is what. Once you know who you want to work with and where they go for information, resources, networking, then you want to figure out what 1 to 2 things are you committed to doing on a consistent basis in order to connect with that particular population or profession and start to become known as an industry expert. So that is the who, the how, and the what.
That's great, Lauren. So I know that accounting professionals are really, really busy. In fact, Intuit's research shows that about 64% of their clients come from referrals. And carving out a niche takes a little bit of time and more effort in the beginning, and then it gains momentum as you continue to do it. How do accounting professionals know what's going to work?
I agree with you that carving out a niche does take time. When you look at all the ways to start to get known, as far as networking, marketing, connecting with people, it can be overwhelming in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying don't do everything. Just focus on 1 or 2 things that feel comfortable for you, that you want to put consistent effort into. And I went ahead and put together 5 different ways that you can go ahead and get out there to be able to give you some idea as to what is available and what might really work best for you. The first one is looking at being a content developer. What that means is you know so much about what you do, and that you can give information and educate your potential client about what their problems are, as well as what the solutions are and how you might be able to help them. Look at what is it that, where they go for information, as I said before, whether it's blogs or industry websites, and see if you can be a contributor for those particular websites. That starts to really develop your authority from a written perspective. The other thing you want to do as far as developing content is look at who else works with that particular population, and maybe there's someone else that you can partner with and that you can support each other with getting content out there in a more leveraged way where you're helping to promote each other. So an example of giving content is I'm a contributor for Intuit's Firm of the Future, and I post articles there on a regular basis about business development for bookkeeping professionals. And then I have also partnered with a couple software services that have apps that work with QuickBooks, and I will come in and do training for their accounting professionals as well on business development. So think about how that might work for you. The second thing is social media. Now, social media can be a beast. It's overwhelming. It's painful for a lot of people because they don't really understand how it works. And they see it as something that can just take all of their time and not really get too many results. I want to give you an easier way to do that. Let's look at just 10 to 15 minutes each and every day. That means we're going for the marathon, similar to compounding interest, which is the fastest way to create wealth. Look at really that compounding interest effect where you just do a little bit each and every day and it has an accumulative effect over time. The first thing that you want to do is figure out which of the social media platforms do your clients actually go to most. Do they go to LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, which are the top 4 right now? And once you decide which one or two they go to most, do you want to focus on just one of those or 2 of those? It doesn't really matter. Choose what's right for you. But once you make a decision as to which 1 or 2 social media platforms you want to put attention into, then the next thing that you want to do is look at what do you do now that you've made that decision? Okay, you're going to focus on, let's say, Facebook. With Facebook, what you want to do is put out some educational posts that just teaches them and gives information that is helpful and solves their problem that's aligned with that thing that you do. And then the other thing that you want to look at with posts is share some information that you found on the internet that is also going to be helpful for them. So not just sharing your content, but share other content as well. The third thing that you can do is find some groups in Facebook where your ideal client actually hangs out and they post questions. When they post questions that are relevant to yours, go ahead and answer those questions. That will help them start to know that you are an expert, you have credibility, and it's going to be something that's going to have some of them then reaching out and wanting to know more about how you can help them. So that's how to use social media appropriately without the overwhelm or having it fill up your entire calendar. The next thing you want to do is look at speaking. Speaking can be done either in person or virtually. That's the first thing to recognize. When we're talking about speaking, you could be speaking at an industry conference. You can be speaking at a lunch and learn that somebody else is hosting or you're hosting. Or maybe it's just that going to a network event and giving your 30 seconds about who you are and what you do, which I'll get into a little bit later, how to do it more effectively. So those are some ways that you can speak in person. Now with virtually, you can host a webinar like I'm doing for you right now. You can be a guest on somebody else's webinar, or you can speak on podcasts. Those are some of the different ways that you can get out there and speak, whether you want to do it in person or whether you want to do it virtually. I will let you know that when I first made the move into business coaching, I had a real fear of public speaking. So if the thought of even that 30 seconds gives you an aerobic heartbeat, I totally get it. I've been there too. I avoided those social networking events like the plague because I thought they were superficial, I didn't like them, and I didn't see the value in them. So I can really understand that perspective. Once I went into business coaching, I began to shift my mindset and I started to look for how they can be of value and look at it coming from a place of serving and connecting as opposed to being a really superficial thing that was going to just waste my time. So what I did when I decided I had to get over my fears public speaking is I joined Toastmasters. I went religiously to every meeting, and it put me in a place of having to speak on the fly, doing some things that weren't all planned out. and also doing some of those planned out talks as well. I was able to change my perspective about speaking, become more comfortable with something that used to give me anxiety. As a result of it, speaking virtually as well as in person is now one of the things that I do as a way to educate accounting professionals about those business development strategies that's going to go ahead and double your income working half the time. So that's number 3. Number 4 is resources. This is not for everybody. This is very, very specific. What content can you take and maybe make into an ebook, possibly a checklist, or hosting a webinar where you can then use that content to invite potential clients to you, and they give you their name and email address in exchange for that content that has value to them. It's similar, once again, to the webinar that I'm doing. I also have a free book on my website called Get Paid What You're Worth, and it talks about value-based pricing. And those are 2 things where I give away information as a resource in exchange for names and email addresses, because once you have that connection with them, it allows you to then continue to develop the relationship of what it is that is going on with them, how you can best help them, and continuing to give them information and content that they can go ahead and use. And the last thing you want to look at is messaging. That is the elevator speech that I was talking about. With your elevator pitch, a lot of people do it in a very, very ineffective way because they get nervous, they don't know what to say, they don't know what's going to really make a difference, they don't see the value of what they have to offer. I'm going to give you a 3-step process on how to nail your elevator pitch. It is easy and it works. The very first thing that you want to go ahead and look at is, what is the problem that the people in your niche that you're looking to develop have that you're able to solve? So you want to identify the problem. Then you want to, as the second sentence, focus on the impact that they have. Because they have this impact, because they have this problem, how does it impact them and what they're attempting to do? And then the third step is really what they can do to solve that problem that you're uniquely qualified to help them with. So that is how you do your elevator pitch. And an example of how I do mine is that up to 50%, 57% of accounting professionals undercharge for their services. That is the first sentence. Second sentence, as a result of that, they are leading and selling their time as opposed to their expertise, which really undervalues their authority and everything that they know. Step number 3, how I fix that. If that is something that you've experienced and you would like to change that, I show accounting professionals how to price for value as opposed to selling time, and how that becomes more lucrative, creating a profitable business. So that was 3 sentences. Mine were a little bit long. You can shorten yours, but it works really, really well when you go to those network meetings and someone comes up and says, what do you do? So that is the 5 things that are effective marketing strategies. And this is Kelly. I just wanted to share, when I first met Kelly, first of all, she is a perfectionist. When she first started writing blogs, it would take her over 8 hours to get a blog post out because she was so worried about pushback with saying something contrarian. Somebody might say a negative comment, that she would offend somebody. And she would just fret, worry over those little tiny pieces in her blog that might offend someone in some way. And what we did is we shifted the mindset from perfection to excellence, and the importance of her sharing her message and really how she views things. As a result, she was able to get out there more. She really connected with her message, and that message connected with her audience. And as a result of that, she started getting on all these different morning shows because it was more important for her to be able to get out there and influence people to do things the correct way than what some of the information was out there that she didn't really see eye to eye with.
And that's really the virtual approach, Lauren. But What about people, because I'm getting some messages in the chat, who prefer in-person connections? What are your thoughts about networking?
I absolutely think that networking is important if you want to have a business. That's because at some point you want to be able to step away from being behind your computer, getting out there and actually meeting people. When you meet people, you're going to eventually run into people that might be great referral sources where you can actually refer to them and they can refer to you because there's a lot of alignment and you work with the same population, as well as meeting people that could be potential clients for you that really want to know more about how you might be able to help them. Typically, we hear about KLT, the know, like, and trust factor. I want to put a new spin on it. I want to talk about VCP. So let me explain the know, like, and trust factor and how it applies to visibility, credibility, and profitability. Knowing is the fact that you're getting out there. That's the visibility piece. People are just starting to realize that you exist and beginning to learn about what you do. The like factor is that as you're getting out there and you're talking, they see that you follow through on what it is that you say that you do. It's possible that you start to get testimonials from other people who've had the opportunity to talk or work closely with you, and they're sharing their experience of how you help them. That leads to the credibility piece. And then once you have that visibility and the credibility, it leads to the trust, which also is profitability, because they realize that you exist, how you help them. They've been hearing about the fact that you're able to make a difference, you solve problems, and they recognize that you follow through, you are trustworthy. Now you're having people that want to partner with you as referral sources, or you have people that are interested in having you come on, they want to hire you and have them be your newest clients. So that is taking the KLT into the VCP.
And most accounting professionals don't really like the thought of being competitive. Is there a way to market a network without being competitive?
Absolutely. I will agree with you that I don't want to be competitive either. There are so many other people out there that are coaching accounting professionals, and we all have our own way to do it. I will say, however, is that when you look at yourself as being a generalist and you are leading on being the lowest cost professional in your category, then it's very hard to distinguish you from anybody else. What you want to do for expert positioning is to define, once again, who it is that you help, what it is that you do that solves their problem, and how maybe you approach it in a way that's different. You want to talk about what is possibly well known in the community, but it isn't the most effective way to be able to advance with fixing your problem. An example that I use is about billing versus pricing. The majority of accounting professionals use the billable hour. They charge by the hour, and they look at the general pricing that is in their area from the lowest to the highest and hope to get it somewhere in the middle. But what I look at is value pricing, because when you're doing the billable hour, you are emphasizing time, which once again makes you very, very competitive. People are going to decide to work with you or not based upon your price. And when we shift it over to value pricing, what we're doing then is emphasizing your expertise and what you know, as opposed to how much they have to pay to work with you. And once we do that, it then really takes your business to a different level where you're not competing with everybody on price or for the compliance services, those tasks that you do to get a result. Now we're positioning you as the person that solves your client's biggest problem and the value that it has, and recognizing that once you're an expert, it's not about price any longer. It's really about the fact that you do this all day, every day, and you know how to help them move beyond that thing that's keeping them stuck. And that's exactly what expert positioning does, is it takes you out of the conversation of competing on price and being a generalist into being a thought leader, recognizing the knowledge that you bring, that unique perspective, and that you are the one that is going to help them. It's very, very client attractive, and it changes everything about your practice and how you operate.
And how would someone know what to do first, Lauren?
Well, that is part of what I talk about, is how to rise above the competition. And there's 5 steps with that. The first thing you want is a system. You want to figure out what is the most effective way to network, whether it's virtual, in person, or a combination of both. And also the most effective way that you want to market. It could be traditional marketing with print ads, with using the media in some way as far as radio or television. It could be speaking. It could be being on different social media platforms where your clients hang out. But look at what is your system that you're willing to do consistently, a combination of in-person as well as virtual, to be able to get out there and really put it on your calendar. It is a date with advancing your business and getting known. That's the first thing. The second thing you want to look at is developing those strategic partnerships. Who is it that also serves that particular niche, as I said before, that is complementary, and you can actually support each other to be able to advance your business. So think about that. For you, if you don't offer payroll, it might be a payroll company. It could be a human resources company. So who are those other strategic partnerships that are going to be great alignment and that you can refer back and forth to each other? The third thing you want to look at is that success mindset. When I talk to accounting professionals, some of them are interested. They're just willing to do what is convenient within their comfort zone. And the things that are a stretch for them, that feel a little bit more risky or they don't know how to do, they make excuses, they hold back, they postpone doing those things, they overthink it and do a lot of research. Now, there's also accounting professionals who are fully committed to getting out there and making a bigger impact, helping the clients to move forward. And those accounting professionals are fully committed. They are willing to do whatever is necessary, no matter what. And even if they don't know how to do it and it feels like a risk, they are going to figure out how to do it, because they're really committed to their purpose and wanting to make a difference of deeply serving their clients. So just figure out your mindset. Either one is okay. And if you're not satisfied with where you are, there are ways to be able to shift it to where you want to be. The fourth thing is stay on course, because similar to the economy, there's ups and downs that are going to happen in your business as you're moving forward and advancing. There's things where it's fun and you're in the flow. You love what you're doing and you can do it all day, every day. And then there's parts where unexpected challenges occur, or somebody else does something and it has a direct impact on your business and it caught you off guard, but it was critical. It really upset the flow in an unexpected way, and now you have to recover. So think about the fact that the economy goes through ups and downs, but the economy eventually corrects itself, and this happens in your business also. Once again, approach this as a marathon with a long-term gain, as opposed to a sprint where you're in and out of it, and when things go off, you just go into overwhelm, you shut down, and you're not as effective. So let's go ahead and find ways to help you stay on course. The other thing to rise above the competition is to start now, because you like systems. The research helps. It reduces risk. It keeps you more in your comfort zone. It gets to a point eventually where it's time to start doing it and taking what you've been thinking about or what you've been planning for and actually get it on your calendar and start to do it. You will gain insight, get great feedback, and move forward faster because you stepped up, as opposed to in spite of it. And it could be really, really scary. It could be that you're not sure about how to do all this, and that is okay. There's ways to be able to figure out as you move forward. However, the way to develop your niche, you have to start now. And eventually you'll look back and say, oh my gosh, it's amazing what I didn't know when I first got started that I know now. And you'll wonder how you ever got to this point. But the fact that you took action and you course corrected as necessary is what's going to help you to take your business to the next level.
And although, Lauren, Oh, I'm sorry. You want to talk about Ingrid first?
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. I would love
Sure.
to talk about Ingrid. Some of you might know her. And basically, when I first met Ingrid, she was working with a wide variety of clients. She was doing all different sorts of bookkeeping. And she was very highly committed to charging by the hour because she wanted to be fair. Through continued conversations with Ingrid, we were able to look at the fact that she really had a purpose of wanting to take bookkeeping to a higher level. And in order for her to be able to raise the level of bookkeeping, she had to make some changes within her own business. We started to figure out her niche, which right now is focusing on businesses that are in the travel, adventure, tourism industry. And finding who her ideal clients are, where they hung out. She started speaking on those different platforms and at their conferences. As a result of that, she's been able to cut away 30% of her clients and has doubled her income. And we just spoke early this week. She is getting ready to take her business even to the next level, becoming more of a trusted advisor, focusing on the advisory services as opposed to the compliance piece. And I just want to say that we also talked about the hourly rate and showed her how it really wasn't fair for her clients as well as for her. And once we were able to do that, and she had some conversations with Joe Woodard from the Woodard Institute and some other people who were influential, she was ready to make the shift from hourly billing to value-based pricing. And it's one of the reasons that it's allowed her to really step up and take bookkeeping to the next level as far as professionalism.
Great. Yeah. So you have here define your ideal client, but I want to talk about a little bit about the networking because you touched on that a couple of times.
Sure.
And I just wanted to share that you and I just came from a networking event this morning, and our experience was very different. I don't have a problem walking up to a group of people and just kind of entering the conversation. And so if we do a lot of these networking events, we have different experiences. And is marketing as effective for introverts as it is for extroverts?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Jumping into my next slide, which is fine, Steve. But let's go ahead and take care of that now.
Sure.
And we'll just show the picture later on. So, basically, I think that you're bringing up a really good point about the networking, because you're going to go ahead and walk into the room. You're going to just mosey up to a group of people and start having a great conversation with them. It's so easy for you. I walk into a room and I have a different experience. For me, I'm going to scope out the room. I'm going to probably put my things down and find a place where I want to sit first. So I claim my territory. And then I hope by that time somebody recognizes that I'm a new face in the room and they come over and talk to me first. But if not, then I will go ahead and find probably a single person or maybe a group of two people to start to engage in and have a conversation as well. Because of that, you and I are going to talk afterwards about the experience, and you're going to have a way different experience than I am. I will also say with the networking that because I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert, I will go into a very, very large room. And if it's a room where it's much larger than I expected, it's going to really hit me. And I will either turn around and walk out because it was uncomfortable for me and I wasn't expecting it, or I will go ahead and be able to stay there just for a certain amount of time, and then I'm going to leave because I don't want to drain my energy. So Steve, you get energized by the room. The bigger the room, more energy.
Yeah.
I find that the larger the room, actually, the more draining it is, and I need to limit my time. The way that I look at it is that these groups are a way to meet a couple individuals. So I want to meet maybe 2 or 3 people that I want to connect with and get to know better. And once I find those 2 or 3 people, I want to schedule something right there on our calendar to have a coffee date. And you can have a virtual coffee date or an in-person one. Either one is okay. And once I do that, I feel like my purpose is served and I don't really need to stay there much longer. The other thing that I found as an introvert is I do better with meetings that have a structure to them. instead of going to the open network meeting where everybody's just hanging out, socializing, and doing a lot of small talk, I want to go to the one where maybe there's 10 to 15 minutes of that open network meeting, and then there's a structure to the meeting, and that's a lot more comfortable for me than really the ones where I have to continue to engage in a conversation with different groups of people. So those are some of the things to think about as far as how networking is different for extroverts as opposed to introverts, even though it's important for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lauren, you really shared, quite a bit today. We looked at a lot of different topics, and I just want to know.
Steve,
Yes.
before we jump into that, because I know where
Yeah.
you're going,
Okay.
I'd like to talk about where to get started. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I gave a lot of information, and it could be too much information for some people. So
Mm-hmm.
I really want to say that the very first thing that you do before you do any of this other thing is go back to the first thing that I talked about and define your ideal client. Figure out who you work best with, the demographics as well as the psychographics, where they hang out, as well as which one or two things that you can do to really go to where they are instead of having them come to where you are. Once you define your ideal client, then the rest of what I shared about today with developing a niche is more or less plug and play. And so that is Justin. One of the things that I did with Justin is, once again, he went from being a generalist to a specialist. He tends to focus on people that have businesses in the cannabis industry, which is very, very specific. It's not federally regulated, so it has a lot of nuances that other businesses don't have. And because of his niching and being a tax expert for those businesses in the cannabis industry, he's now speaking on their stages. He's now contributing to their forums or going where they ask questions. And it's really turned his entire business around. So I think that is pretty much everything, right, Steve?
Well, yeah, I mean, we covered the 5 client attraction steps. We covered the hot tips to develop your niche. I've talked about the ideal client. And so if there's people that are out there that want to go take it further, they want to take the next step, what do you have for those people?
What I would say is I'm offering a conversation today. It's a private conversation between you and me, really looking at how to grow your ideal business. It's a strategy session. What we're going to do is talk about where you want your business to be, where it currently is, some of the challenges, some of the opportunities, and really giving you those insights as to how to take your business and take it to the next level regarding pricing, regarding business development, what's going to really have a business that supports your lifestyle as opposed to one that might be draining, or that you're doing things that really don't excite you, or have clients that you really don't want to work with any longer and you just don't know how to make that change. So we're going to go ahead and do a strategy session. If you felt that what I talked about connected with you, you want to be able to finally move forward with this, you're tired of thinking about it, planning, and it is time to get moving, then that is absolutely the way to go. And I don't know if you're able to put the link in the chat, Steve, but if you can, it's once again, businesssuccesssolution.com/let's talk. If you feel that you want to have that conversation about where you want to take your business, you connected with things that I said, I would love to talk with you. I have 3 strategy session slots available. And once again, you go to businesssuccesssolution.com/let's talk. I so appreciate you taking the time here. And if anybody had any questions that they wanted to put in the chat, would love to be able to go ahead and answer those questions for you. So was there anything, Steve, maybe that came up in the chat that I didn't answer yet?
Actually, there's been conversations about Facebook and about whether it's expensive to get people to, work with you doing Facebook for you. So we've had particularly with Holly and Michelle, we've had an ongoing conversation about that.
Mm-hmm. And what was the specific question, just so I know?
Is it very expensive, and are there any alternatives?
Facebook can go from free to fee. What I have found that is highly effective if you want to do it for free is to go ahead and post about things that offer value and educate for your ideal client. And as I said, find other resources and share those things as well. That starts to position you as an expert. Join some Facebook groups where your ideal clients hang out. And when they post questions regarding the thing that you do, answer those. The other thing that you can do in those Facebook groups is you can ask a question that's related to what you do and see what their challenges are and start to answer those things that are coming up for them. So you're engaging in conversation. That really starts to develop that know, like, and trust factor. Another way to really be effective with Facebook without having to spend any money is to do video lives. Facebook loves Facebook Lives. If you can do that on maybe 1 to 3 minutes, sharing one particular topic that is going to add value to your clients, that starts to actually get more engagements than a post will. Also, your Facebook business page is going to get very, very little engagement. I suggest you do not spend any money boosting it, because when you spend money boosting it, Facebook will do what's going to be the easiest effort to them, and they're going to just send it out to everybody without being targeted. If you feel you want to invest in Facebook ads, that is a long-term strategy, and you will actually be investing money upfront first before you get a result. Up until recently, I found that with Facebook ads, Facebook makes more money off of me doing ads than I do up until recently. And that's because I wasn't being very strategic with testing my messages, with testing my audiences, with testing the different images that people are going to respond to. And I started doing that where I've been spending a lot of money on just testing and getting feedback. And now I'm at the point of really starting to put those Facebook ads out there, because now I know what messages they respond to, who I need to target as far as my audience goes, as well as the images that they respond to also. That's going to go ahead and bring down the cost of my Facebook ads, is because I've really been able to dial it in like that. I will let you know that it has been an investment. It's not something that I've been doing myself. I've hired someone to do that, but I can see the long-term benefits of having moved forward and done that. If you are at a point where you're still playing with Facebook or growing your business, then you might not want to do that yet. You might want to first test your messaging and seeing what people are talking about by going into those Facebook groups and being a contributor. So that's what I would say is you can do things from free to fee on Facebook. I would start out with the free things first and really get clued into what people are talking about and which audiences respond to your message before you start investing in Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Great advice.
Were there any other questions that were coming up, Steve, in the chat, or that other people wanted to share about so that it would help them to develop their niche and get that expert positioning?
Well, Holly was talking about how she's joined, or hasn't gone yet, but she's joined she wants to join business luncheon locally, which I highly encourage.
And so, Holly, was there a specific question that you had about that? Or was it a comment that she had, or was it a question, Steve? Just so I know.
It was a response to my question, do you like networking and where do you do it?
Mm-hmm. I will let you know, Holly, that finding that 1 or 2 groups where you can network, where your ideal client hangs out, or referral partners is the best thing that you can do. Personally, I like to have at least 1 to 2 weekly network meetings that are local, and then maybe 1 that's a monthly network meeting. What I found is in the beginning, I joined a lot of groups. It was taking a lot of time and they all weren't equally effective. I went on a network meeting diet where I started to cut out the groups that might have been very fun and social and enjoyable to be around, but they weren't going to advance my business, and really put the majority of my efforts onto those 1 or 2 groups that I either had referral partners or that I got clients from. And both of them have value. So one of the things to really think about is where can you develop power teams, those referral partners, because those are other businesses who are in front of your clients all day, every day, And then you can start to cross refer to each other. It's a great strategic move for growing your business without having to do it all yourself. And then also finding out where your clients hang out. For an example, I go to QBC. I will go to QuickBooks Connect because I think it's a fantastic event. And not only does it focus on business development, but then I get to meet a lot of accounting professionals that are not in the office. They're there to learn and meet also. And it's a great way to connect and really be in in a place where my ideal client hangs out with, as well as my referral partners. So those are some of the things to really think about as you're looking at networking groups. And anything, Holly was saying that it's overwhelming. You know what, Holly, in the beginning, it is overwhelming. There's so many different things that you can do. I would say for you, just focus on one, maybe two things. Focus on one networking group and focus on one social media thing. And that's it. And even if both of those are too overwhelming, then think about whether most of your clients are local, where you meet them in person before they become a client, or if they're virtual. Because a lot of what I saw for me in the beginning was that people usually met me in person at some point, whether it was me speaking to them or having a coffee date with them before they became my client. That's not as much now, but in the beginning that was very, very true, where actually there was more value to the in-person networking than there was to the virtual networking. So that's just something to think about as far as how to start to move forward with your business. Just find one networking group right now, and maybe one thing that you're doing on social media that's possibly 10 or 15 minutes a day. Oh, and so you said everything you do is virtual. You can do virtual networking. I do as much networking virtually as I do in person. You don't have to be face-to-face anymore. You can just set up virtual coffee dates. So those are some of the things to think about. Anyway, once again, if anybody had any questions that I didn't answer, feel free to reach out, let me know. Would love to make sure that you got what you needed to move forward. And if you wanted to have a complimentary strategy session with me, I do have 3 slots available. Go to businesssuccesssolutions.com/let's talk, and we will get that set up for you. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.